Welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee's online ordination of our Minister of Religious Education, Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson. I'm Reverend Jennifer Nordstrom, and I'm honored to serve as the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee's senior minister. We welcome people of all genders, sexualities, ages, races, ethnicities, histories, and bodies. We welcome your mind, your heart, and your spirit. We welcome all you're bringing with you today and all your heart longs to set down. We are so honored and grateful to have you with us here today for the sacred task of ordaining Kimberlee.
Good afternoon. I'm Reverend Dina McFeeters, honored to serve as Associate Minister at First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. Why have we gathered for this ceremony today? What is an ordination? In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, only a congregation has the power to ordain someone as a minister. There is no ecclesiastical hierarchy who ordains, only a living, breathing congregation of members who have chosen one of their own. An individual may be called from within to minister among and to be faithful to the beyond, but cannot be designated a reverend unless a congregation decides to make it so. The First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee voted unanimously at our May 2020 annual meeting to ordain our Minister of Religious Education, Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson. It is only by the congregation's authority, your minds, hearts, hands, and spirits, that Kimberlee becomes a reverend today. An ordination is a hinge moment, a threshold, a ritual of transformation. At the beginning of this ceremony, Kimberlee is a person embedded in community, several communities, and by the end of the ceremony, she will be a reverend, called forth and set apart, robed in the risk of ministry, and bestowed with a mantle of responsibility. She will be charged to serve a purpose larger than herself, larger than her particular communities, our faith. Kimberlee, although a very long journey, hard work, good play, endless study and practice, exams and examines, blood, sweat, and tears, and decades of service to our faith as a lay person and a religious professional led up to this moment of your ordination. It is today, through the power of the people, that we usher you across this threshold.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now, my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Hello, my name is Rabbi Yonason Meadows, and Mazel Tov, congratulations, as we gather together to celebrate the ordination of Kimberlee. I've had the privilege of knowing Kimberlee for a while now, as I was her clinical pastoral education, her chaplaincy educator, and I also serve as a staff chaplain at a hospital here in Wisconsin, and I'm an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, so I'm bringing blessings from the Jewish community. Kimberlee is a very special person who has and will continue to bring blessings, enlightenment, kindness, love, and caring to everyone she works with and everyone that she encounters. So please join me in celebrating this special day with her and with the community she is privileged to serve and who is privileged to have her. Mazel Tov.
Hi, I'm Carrie McDonald, Executive Vice President of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and on behalf of the over 1,000 congregations and communities of the UUA, especially your neighbors in the Mid-America region, I bring you greetings on the occasion of the ordination of Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson. Our faith is really a community of communities, as my friend and colleague Paula Cole-Jones reminds us. Our congregations are a community. Our wider association is a community, and it's the covenants that we make which hold together these overlapping circles of our communities. The UUA is the embodiment of the covenant between and among our congregations. It's how we do our good work together. And from that flows our mission to equip congregations for vital ministry, to support and train leaders, both lay and professional, and to advance UU values in the world. Training leaders, ministerial credentialing, fellowshipping, search, and settlement is a core way that we train and support our leaders, and a key part of the mission of the UUA. We understand choosing and supporting our leaders as a collective act. I'm so pleased to have been asked to give greetings today because Kimberlee is someone who understands, has experienced, and is committed to the wider covenant, the shared commitments of our association. I'm thrilled to be helping to welcome her into this next phase of her ministry to children, youth, and families that she has been committed to for her entire career. We gather today virtually amidst heartbreak, tragedy, at a crossroads in the struggle for liberation within our faith and in the wider world, seeking a world in which no one is outside the circle of love. We find hope and strength in our communities and in the ritual choosing of our leaders. And Kimberlee is one of those leaders that we need. She is so committed to the anti-racist, anti-oppressive work of our commitment to the beloved community. And it is such a joy of mine to help welcome her into ordained fellowship. On behalf of the over 1,000 congregations and communities of the UUA, Kimberlee, congratulations.
Grace and peace to all. My name is Reverend Eric Kepnick of the United Church of Christ, and I bring greetings on behalf of queer and allied faith leaders of Milwaukee as one of the network's co-conveners. It has been a pleasure to engage in ministry with Kimberlee as she leveraged the network of queer and allied faith leaders to launch Blessed at Pride Fest, blessing Milwaukee Pride Fest's splendidly diverse attendees with deeply affirming and transforming love. I can't wait for what the future brings for your ministry, Reverend Kimberlee. On behalf of queer and allied faith leaders of Milwaukee, blessings on this, the praiseworthy occasion of your ordination.
Hello, I'm Reverend Christine Wilkie, an ordained minister in the Wisconsin Conference United Church of Christ, and it is my great joy to bring you greetings from the United Church of Christ, but I am even more excited to be able to participate in your ordination today, Kimberlee. Kimberlee and Reverend Denise Cawley and I met through Queer and Allied Faith Leaders Milwaukee, and we are the dream team that put together the Blessed at Pride Fest booth at Pride Fest Milwaukee, and what a great experience it has been, and to know you. And so as you move forward in this next stage of your journey, I offer you blessings, many blessings, friend.
Hello, my name is Peter Beck. I'm a member of Unitarian Universalist Church West. I had the privilege of chairing Kimberlee's internship committee. The other committee members and I enjoyed that time with Kimberlee, seeing her develop through the internship while also reflecting on our own spiritual journeys. Congratulations, Kimberlee, on your ordination. Your hard work and commitment that brought you to this day will serve you and the UU faith well, indeed. I look forward to seeing you again in the pulpit.
An ordination is the physical manifestation of a great accomplishment. As a member of Bradford Community Church, Unitarian Universalist, Kimberlee has been a loving and compassionate presence to us all during times of great sadness, struggle, and grief. She has also been a part of our congregational family during times of great joy and celebration. While it would be nice to have a minister's spouse sitting in the front row of church every Sunday, gazing adoringly at their mate, that is not who Kimberlee is called to be. I mean, I'm sure she gazes at Eric adoringly at other times. We just don't see it on a regular basis. We at Bradford Church are so proud of Kimberlee and all that she has overcome and achieved. We cherish the role she has played in our congregational life, from being a nurturing presence to our youth, to being a supportive and grounding family member to our pastor and their extraordinary child. But mostly we appreciate the way she sees each one of us lovingly through the lens of her UU faith and her personal integrity. While we wish we could see her every Sunday and share coffee and the occasional potluck, we support our friend Kimberlee as she reaches into the bright future she has worked so hard for. Bradford Church and Unitarian Universalism as a whole will be forever blessed by Kimberlee's gifts. There is a hope that's been expressed in you, the hope of 7 generations, maybe more. This is the faith that they invest in you. It's that you'll do one better than was done before. Inside you'll know Inside you understand. Inside you know what's yours to finally set right. And I suggest, yes, I suggest to you, yes, I suggest this is the best part of your life.
Good afternoon. I am the Reverend Kim Mason, and I am honored to be with you today. I have known Kimberlee, well, so long that I don't actually remember the first time or even the first place that I met her. I simply know that we met doing young adult work with the Continental UU Young Adult Network at the same time. We then went on to become religious educators at the same time, working in Unitarian Universalist congregations to support programs for children and youth. And then we went to seminary at the same time at Meadville Lombard Theological School. We are remarkably skilled at twinning, even when we don't intend it, the least of which is a fair habit of wearing the same outfits. Dear friend, I am so blessed to have you part of my life. Holding the Light by Stuart Kestenbaum. Gather up whatever there is glittering in the gutter, whatever has tumbled in the waves or fallen in flames out of the sky. For it is not only our hearts that are broken, but the heart of the world as well. Stitch it back together. Make a place where the day speaks to the night and the earth speaks to the sky. Whether we created God or God created us, it all comes down to this. In our imperfect world, we are meant to repair and stitch together what beauty there is. Stitch it with compassion and wire. See how everything we have made gathers the light inside itself and overflows? A blessing.
My name is Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson. It is my honor to be the Minister of Religious Education at First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. The story I have for you today is particularly special. It is called The Invisible String by Patricia Karst. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumble got so loud that it woke them up. "Mommy, Mommy," they cried as they ran out to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just a storm making all that noise. Go on back to bed." "We want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." "You know we're always together, no matter what," said Mom. "But how can we be together when you're out here and we're in bed?" asked Liza. Mom then held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what was it that Mom was holding. "When I was about your age, my mom first told me about the invisible string. I don't see anything, said Jeremy. Well, you don't need to see an invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love. But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there? Asked Liza. Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart and know that you are always connected to everyone that you love. When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all along the invisible string and it tugs at my heart. And we tug right back when we feel it in our hearts, said Jeremy. That's right. Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string? Asked Liza. He sure does, said Mom. And best friends like me and Lucy? Best friends too. How far can that string reach? Asked Jeremy. Everywhere and anywhere. Will it reach me if I were a submarine captain in the depths of the ocean? Yes, even there. Or a mountain climber? Even there. A jungle explorer? Even there. How about an astronaut in outer space? Yes, even there. And then Jeremy asked very quietly, can it reach all the way to heaven, to Uncle Brian? Yes, Mom said, even there. Does the string go away when you're mad at us? Asked Liza. Never, said Mom. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will still be there. Even when you get older and you can't agree about things like what movie to watch or who gets to sit in the front seat or what time to go to bed, oh yeah, you two should be in bed. They all laughed and Mom chased the twins back to their beds, and within minutes they were all asleep, even though the storm was still making the same loud noises outside. As they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, all the strings their friends have, and all the strings their friends' friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they could then see clearly that no one is ever alone. The end. Today, as we gather for my ordination in a way I never imagined, those invisible strings have taken on a new meaning, blessed by the many people who have loved me into this moment and helped make this virtual ordination possible. Even though we cannot see each other as we might wish, I feel the tug in my heart, the pull of all those invisible strings of love. May we all know in our hearts that we are all connected.
We are worthy, not because of what we produce, but because of who we are. We are divine bodies of light and darkness. You are not worthy because of what you offer, not because of what is in your mind, not for the support you give others, nor what you give at all. We are worthy and whole just because. In this great turning, in this great pandemic, in this radical readjustment and realignment, we are not disposable, we are needed. We are the very people that have withstood everything that has been thrown at us. And as Maya Angelou would say, still I rise. We arise from the pain. We rise from the grief. We rise from the limits people put on us and the limits we place on ourselves. We rise to be the children and the ancestors. We rise to be our true selves in relationship to our families and communities, recognizing our liberating and whole selves, honoring them and others as we strive for abundant communities, abundant lives, abundant relationships, and abundant values and cultural manifestations. You are worthiness personified. I, you, and we are worthy and desire a life where we are not fighting for our very existence. Imagine what we create if we were not always in the struggle. Imagine what we could envision if we were just allowed and just let be to go there. So tired of always having to resist, to fight, demanding, and pushing. To everyone that has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need while rooting in what we cannot lose and who we are. You are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dreams. No, you might not ever end up on a list somewhere, but you are on a list in someone's heart and mind. And it's how you move in the world so people can see by example. You are the embodiment of what we need. The embodiment not of productivity, but the embodiment of radical love, care, and sanctuary. It's time, embodiment time. Embodiment. Living one's values out loud. Let me every day live my values out loud. Let us every day live our values out loud. Embodying our values. Not the productivity quotient, beyond productivity, past productivity, true embodiment, life.
We have gathered here today in the way that it is possible and safe for us to gather for a sacred and special occasion, the ordination of Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson. In our faith tradition, a ceremony like today's can only happen if a congregation exercises its collective power. The power to ordain is reserved for you. And yet, it's not something to do in isolation. Your power must be exercised in accountable relationship. Because you're not just ordaining Kimberlee to the Ministry of Religious Education at the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. You are ordaining her to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. You are declaring her to be a UU minister and conferring upon her the honorific of Reverend, which will follow her to whatever congregations she might one day serve. You are placing on her shoulders not simply a stole, but a weighty reminder of the trust that you have placed in her to conduct herself as a minister on your behalf. And we, the folks in the rest of Unitarian Universalism, we trust you, our siblings in Milwaukee, to have considered well this exercise of your power. We know that you have followed the rules of accountability. You waited until she was admitted to ministerial fellowship with our association. You made sure she successfully completed all the requirements that together we put forth for people seeking to become ministers. And most importantly, you formed a relationship with her, placing her in charge of ministry to and with your children, youth, and families. Kimberlee is your minister, and so it is right and good that you ordain her. This is all to say that we trust you, and we honor your power to ordain. Moreover, we expected you to do this. We needed you to do this. It is the fulfillment of one part of your relationship with all of Unitarian Universalism. We needed you to be the final group in the process of ministerial formation that Kimberlee has been working on. Had you just shrugged your shoulders and said, I guess someone else can ordain the person we have invited to be our Minister of Religious Education, you would have been neglecting your duty to our entire faith. So thank you for showing up when we needed you to. Collective power is like that. It is exercised in relationship. It is accountable to that relationship, and it is necessary. Within the walls, physical or virtual, of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, and most especially outside of them. Now, I could easily talk for 15 minutes about how fantastic it is that you are ordaining one of my dearest friends. Shut off my video and we could all feel good about that. But if I were to do that, I would be betraying the trust of many to whom I hold myself accountable, most notably Elandria Williams, who joined the ancestors far too soon a few weeks ago, and so is only present with us today in spirit. So as my friend Elandria would say, now I'm gonna say a thing. You are needed to exercise your collective power. You are needed to exercise your power to live your values in the world to create justice. It is not an optional exercise. If it ever has been, it is certainly not one now. And that exercise of power needs to be done in accountable relationship to communities with less institutional power than you collectively have. As Elandria wrote, to everyone that has the courage, the power, the ability to co-create what we want and need, you are the visionary. You are the hope. You are our ancestors' dreams. Now, you might not ever end up on some list somewhere, but you are on a list in someone's heart and mind. And if it's in how you move in the world so people can see by example, you are the embodiment of what we need, the embodiment of radical love, care, and sanctuary. You, who have the power to create what this world wants and needs, especially you whose power comes tied to identities that afford you institutional power and privilege in our world, your accountable, radical, justice-centered use of your collective power is not optional. 20th century Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams articulated an elegant theology of liberal religion that depended on our willingness to use our collective power for the liberation of all. Adams based his theology on what he witnessed in Nazi Germany before and during World War II. Based on his observations about the lack of clear moral opposition to the murderous regime of the time, he predicted that the withdrawal of religious communities from public dialogue anywhere would produce the same results as did the forcible silencing of those communities by the fascist German government. Adams wrote that the very meaning of history is to be found in the struggle for community. He believed in a divine promise of human wholeness in community, to which we have a sacred responsibility. Adams went so far as to call both the indifference brought about by individualism and the tendency of privileged people to retreat into private self-absorption the very expression of human sinfulness. James Luther Adams concluded that engagement in the struggle for a more just society was one of the most important ingredients of covenantal, voluntary communities such as those created in Unitarian Universalist congregations. We gather today at the precipice of fascism in the United States. Our president has openly courted the support of white nationalist hate groups. Our government has rounded up migrants seeking asylum and caged their children. Refugees are being turned away at our borders. Our police cannot seem to be held accountable for the brazen murder or attempted murder of Black folks. A judge has been nominated to serve on the Supreme Court of our nation who believes that women should be subservient to men, and 2 justices already serving on that court have announced openly their intention to overturn the landmark ruling that established a right to same-sex marriage. At this precipice, here at the edge of the rise of authoritarianism in the United States, our collective power must be brought to bear. We must collectively do whatever we must to stop this assault on our values. And just as with the collective power used within our communities, collective power brought to bear on the world must be used in relationship, with accountability, and with purpose. Your collective power must be exercised in accountable relationship with those who are hurting. As a community, it is up to you to build those relationships, and I know that you have already begun this work. Your collective power must be accountable to those at the margins of our society. It must be used in ways that those most vulnerable to the abuse of power approve of and ask for. And the use of your collective power is not optional, which means that engaging in accountable relationship is not optional either. Your collective power must oppose the evils of our world. Your moral voice must be raised in the halls of our government and on our streets. Your clarity about the inherent worth and dignity of every person must serve as a beacon of life-saving welcome to those being attacked daily. Your willingness to love must shine through the clouds of hate. And for those of you who have the ability to do so, and I know this is not all of you, but I'm counting on it being enough of you to make a difference, you must put your bodies on the line to save those who are most vulnerable in our society. Unitarian Universalist congregations are right now at a moment where the use of our collective power, grounded in accountable relationship to change our society, to shape it in love, is not optional. It is our duty to fight for the freedom of every person. The collective liberation of all humanity can and must be achieved, whether we call it loving the hell out of the world or the divine promise of human wholeness. It is our religious heritage as Unitarian Universalists, and it is our moral calling.
Rise up, and take your place. Move to the head of the line, join the human race. No more denying. Open your eyes, open your eyes. You got a right, as you're breathing. You got a right to be free, and you got a right to feed your children and help them grow up strong. How can they face the future if they're hungry all day long? So rise up, and take your place. Move to the head of the line, join the human race. No more denying, open your eyes and see. You got a right, as you breathe. You got a right to be free. You got a right to be angry at a system that has failed to honor all its people. You got a right to be heard, so rise up, and take your place. Move to the head of the line, join the human race. No more denying, open your eyes and see. You got a right, as you're breathing. You got a right to be free, and you got a right to be his sister, brother, teach the family. You got a seat here at the table. Sit on down right next to me and rise up, and take your place. Move to the head of the line, join the human race. No more denying, open your eyes and see. You got a right, you got a right, you got a right to be free. You got a right, you got a right, you got a right to be free. Yeah, you got a right to be free. You got a right to be free.
Greetings to you. I'm Matthew Johnson, the minister at our church in Rockford, Illinois, and it's a pleasure to be with you virtually at the First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee as you ordain my dear friend and colleague, Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson, to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Kimberlee's asked me to charge you, the church, on the occasion of her ordination. And I'm outside today on this beautiful day. I hope the noise of the traffic isn't too much, because I want to talk about the world, this beautiful world that we live in, and what it means. It's a pleasure to charge you again. I was asked by Jennifer Nordstrom to charge you when she was installed as your minister, and to offer you again a word of advice and encouragement and strength for this partnership that you enter into with this minister. I worked with Kimberlee for 5 years as she served as the Director of Religious Education and Program Director here at the church I serve in Rockford, where she worked with our families and newcomers to welcome them into Unitarian Universalism, to educate and raise their children, to connect with them. And I saw the thing that was the best about her work and the hardest. The best was connecting with families and children and youth and having that light bulb moment, that moment of joy and wonder when they're outside on a hike or going to Boston on a trip or connecting with one-to-one with another peer or in a group, and they have some insight and they resolve to do something and they learn and they grow. The hardest is when nobody volunteers, when nobody steps up, nobody engages, nobody comes forward, and it's like pulling teeth to get somebody to volunteer, to teach the second graders, to chaperone the trip, to do the thing. And that doesn't change when you put Reverend in front of your name, when you're a minister. The best part is when people engage and experience it, and the hardest is when nobody shows and nobody steps up. One of the things they say about religious education is that the primary religious educator is the parent, the caregiver, the family, the network of friends. The religious educator, whether they're a minister or not, helps set up the environment, gives you tools, but you have to be engaged. Another thing they say, and this comes from Maria Harris's classic work in religious education, is that everything is religious education. My colleague and mentor, Kendall Gibbons, talks about when she was a child in one of our churches that the most profound moment wasn't the curriculum lesson, but was when the Sunday school teacher ran out of things to do and they walked down to the duck pond in the middle of the cemetery. And the experience of life and death and how those things came together shaped what she understood to be the meaning of life and Unitarian Universalism. So to embrace those moments, everything is religious education. How we welcome people, what we say, what we don't say, what's on the walls, who volunteers, whose voices are lifted, what we sing, how decisions are made. It's all shaping adults and children and families into the faith. And another thing they say is to remind us of the prophethood of all believers. This James Luther Adams, the preeminent Unitarian theologian of the 20th century, who reminds us that just as Luther said that the priesthood of all believers meant every person of faith was responsible to have a connection to the holy, the prophethood of all believers means that everyone needs to read the signs of the times and engage in discernment about what it means. And that means everyone, from infants to sages, and everyone in between, families together, groups together, and individuals. And so what I want to charge you, the congregation, with today is to engage, to be a priest and a prophet for the work of growing your soul and caring for others, and healing the world and speaking for justice. To remember that you are a religious educator and you have a ministry. That Kimberlee cannot do this work by herself. It is theologically inappropriate. It is soul-killing, and it is not what she has signed up for and not what you need of her. What you need of her is to remind you to do the work, to give you tools and encouragement so that you can do the work and to engage it all the way. Think of a poem by Marge Piercy. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But a thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn were put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. The work of the world is common as mud. Kimberlee knows about this from her work in pottery and from shaping chalices and vases and things. It smears, falls apart. But when it's well done, it holds together and is fired into something beautiful and lasting. And that's your work, the work of the world. Not to sit back or fail to engage, but to be there and to be present. Blessings on this day and this ministry and you, the fine people of this church in Milwaukee. Be well.
Teacher, a prophet, a poet, an artist, my partner, my one. You keep me humble forever in wonder and awe of what you have become. You were a minister before I met you, but you seemed the last one to know. Now we are celebrating your great journey, but there is much further to go. Justice is hard, but oppression is harder. We all must do what we can. You teach the children, the adults, the older. You make me a better man. Ministry's calling is often resisted by servants as worthy as you. But you're building the chalice of earth that will be lit in honor of all that you do. You are my spirit, my strength, and my champion, co-parent, co-pastor, and friend. I am much greater with you than without you. I'll serve with you until the end. Passion for life, for wisdom, for beauty. Passion for justice and love. All of us blessed by your ministry clearly. For us, behind us, above. Not a beginning, but rather a milestone. Today will be all about you. But all of the singing, the prayers and the charges remind of the work yet to do. A reverend hereafter, through tears and through laughter. I'm wondering where your path will lead. And all who have gathered right here and in spirit are eager to help you succeed. All of your colleagues and all of your family, all of your students and friends, all of the people who know you as I do, believe in your ministry's ends. You were a minister before I met you, but you seemed the last one to know. Now we are celebrating your great journey, but there is much further to go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mark Bender, and I'm honored to serve as our congregation's president this year. I'm thrilled to be here on this special day. Like everyone, I wish we could be in person for this ceremony. Even so, I'm happy to be here with you right now, even with those of us who are time displaced and have yet to view this, as we join in this interconnected web of life across all time and space to celebrate this moment. Kimberlee, Tomczak, Carlson, you have been dedicated to the care and education of all you use and have served our faith in numerous professional capacities for over 20 years now. Upon your graduation from Medville Lombard Theological School in 2019, you received both the History and Religious Education Awards as voted on by the faculty. You came to the First Unitarian Society in Milwaukee in August of 2019 and served as our Director of Religious Education for 1 year before becoming our Minister of Religious Education in July of 2020. In May of 2020, our congregation voted to ordain you to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Are you prepared at this time to be ordained?
Yes, I am.
Kimberlee, we recognize that you have earned a Master's of Divinity degree and have received preliminary fellowship from the Ministerial Fellowship Committee of the Unitarian Universalist Association. Yet, within our Congregationalist tradition, the authority to confer ordination lies wholly with the local congregation, with us. It is a meaningful and joyous occasion when a congregation joins together, as we have, to authorize one who has chosen ministry as their life's work. We come together this afternoon to ordain Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson into the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Will the members of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee now join me in ordaining Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson by repeating the sentence, "We ordain you," when I indicate. We, the members of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, hereby ordain you, Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson, to the Unitarian Universalist ministry. Members say now, "We ordain you." In your ministry to us and any congregations you serve, we ask you to speak the truth as you see it. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." Challenge us to witness to the moral and ethical concerns of our times. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." Share with us the joys and sorrows of the human condition. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." Celebrate the principles of our faith. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." Inspire our children and youth with the wonder and mystery of life. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." And to serve in love. Members say now, "To this we ordain you." We have pledged ourselves to collaborate with you in this ministry with faith that the sacred, as you understand that power in our lives, will guide you in truth and practice. Thank you.
Hi, I'm the Reverend Julie Brock, and it is my absolute honor to be giving the charge to the minister. But since I'm giving the charge to a minister of religious education, I feel like there's something I have to confess first. I've never understood the term raising children. Raising children, what are children? Like a barn? Are they a flag? Are they a hand of poker? The goal of a stewardship drive? When I hear the term raising children, I imagine myself in my boardroom with my treasurer saying, "Hey Jim, what do we got to raise this year?" And him saying something like, "Oh, I don't know, Reverend, a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, a couple of teenagers." I just haven't ever understood why we use the term raise for raising children until, that is, I myself got pregnant. Now, Kimberlee is getting ordained a day after my due date, so I can't actually tell you at this point whether I have had a baby or not, but I can tell you that I've had a life that I will be responsible for living and growing inside of me for 9 months, and I cannot think of a more appropriate term for what I'm about to do than to raise something up. I mean, no, this kid isn't a barn, but it sure is taking my entire community to gather the resources together to build the infrastructure of motherhood. And no, my kid's not a flag, but I can't think of anything better to gather under and behind to show as a symbol of what's really important in this world. The thing that we ought to be fighting for and behind than a child. A child is not a hand of poker. But kids raise the stakes in almost every situation. And a child isn't a goal of a stewardship drive. But it is our responsibility to gather in our resources, to give them what they need to grow and to thrive. And so I'm so excited and honored to be part of this today, because I just don't know if I can think of a resource that we can give our children that is better than the ordination of Kimberlee Tomczak Carlson as a minister of religious education. And I know I'm not giving the charge to the congregation, but I want to give a shout out to the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. This is your first ordination. Carlson, friend, teacher, born creative spirit. I charge you to do everything in ministry that you always have done. I charge you to continue to raise up your people. Raise our expectations of ourselves and one another. Raise our awareness of who we are and what we could hope to be. Do what you do so well and raise up those who are most vulnerable, not only to keep them from harm, but to keep our eyes on who we should be listening to and following, including, especially, our young ones. And this next one I'm going to take straight from Reverend Kimberlee Debus, because I can't say it better. When the loneliness of your call seems like too much of a sacrifice, because sometimes it will, because this job gets hard. When the loneliness of your call seems like too much of a sacrifice, let those of us who know you and who love you and who witness you here today, let those of us raise you up. Because your ministry is a resource too precious not to tend. This is my charge to you this day and for every day going forth. Blessed be, and amen.
Good afternoon. I'm the Reverend Drew Kennedy, and I'm delighted to be the Minister Emeritus of this First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee. And I'm also delighted to stand here today in our beloved 128-year-old sanctuary in full support of the ordination today of Kimberlee Carlson. But my job right now is to tell you about our offering today. Our offering today is to be directed to two eminently worthy and uniquely targeted nonprofit Unitarian Universalist organizations. But let me say this first. I get it. In this multifaceted moment of pandemic, constitutional, racial, and environmental urgency, clearly there is no shortage of worthy organizations to which to contribute these days. I totally get that. Nevertheless, there are relatively few Unitarian Universalists in the world to support our particular Unitarian Universalist worthy organizations. So I commend to your attention today two distinctly different but equally worthy Unitarian Universalist organizations. Our first recipient is called BLUU. That's BLUU, which stands for Black Lives of Unitarian Universalists. BLUU is an organization which formed in the wake of various conversations among Black Unitarian Universalists in the summer of 2015. Today, BLUU, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalists, has three main goals. First, expanding the power and capacity of Black UUs within our faith. Second, providing support, information, and resources for Black Unitarian Universalists. And the third goal is what BLUU calls justice making and liberation through our faith. So that's BLUU, our first recipient, Black Lives of Unitarian Universalists. Our second, specifically UU organization we invite you to support today is the Unitarian Universalist Living Tradition Fund. When staff members and ministers of our congregations struggle to make ends meet and keep their head above the water, the Living Tradition Fund can be a lifesaver. Churches have typically never been able to pay terribly well, especially our smaller churches. And like many others in our society, some of us as individuals are only one illness or one emergency or one fire or one flood away from significant financial hardship. All this is aggravated by the fact that UU seminary graduates, on average, are now graduating with debts of over $61,000. And this does not include any mortgage or car debt, which they may also have. So into this breach comes the Unitarian Universalist Association Living Tradition Fund. The Living Tradition Fund provides more than $500,000 a year to ministers, religious educators, musicians, and other congregational staff to help with the extraordinary financial needs of life, like dentures, root canals, therapy, utility bills, home repairs, some from floods and fires, hearing aids, mortgage payments, health insurance, and so forth. And each year now, the UUA's Living Tradition Fund has chipped in to help graduating seminarians pay down at least some of their seminary debt. These Living Tradition Funds can be a lifeline, signifying not just that some financial aid has arrived, but that the larger UU community has our back. Indeed, a minister friend of mine recently told of getting a check from the Living Tradition Fund when he was down on his luck after a very expensive divorce. After opening the envelope, he said he literally laid down on his kitchen floor where he had opened the envelope and wept. Friends, the UUA Living Tradition Fund makes a difference, as does Blue. So please be as generous as you can in these days. And to get you thinking, Lois and I are going to give $50 to each of these worthy causes right now. So if you can, please join us. There should be instructions on how to give on your screen. Please do what you can. Thanks.
I've been hungry, I've been cold, I've been dragged out, left all alone. I am you, you are me, we are one. I've been beat down, I've been hurt, had my good name drawn through the dirt. I am me, you are you, we are two. Lost my country, lost my land, lost the best friend that I had ever had. We are you, you are me, we are three. We are strong, and we are kind, and we've got the arc of justice on our side. We are many, we are one, we are love. We have faith, and we have pride. We are boldly serving on love's side. We are many, we are one, we are love. We are the guard at prison door. We are the throngs, so tired and sore. We're a crowd, you're one more, we are four. We are the leaves upon the tree. We are the waves within the sea. We are the earth, so much alive. We are five. We are the spring before the fall. We are the ones who hear love's call. We are many, we are one, we are all. And we are strong, and we are kind, and we've got the arc of justice on our side. We are many, we are one, we are love. We have faith, and we have pride. We are boldly serving on love's side. We are many, We are one, we are love. We are strong, and we are kind, and we've got the arc of justice on our side. We are many, we are one, we are love. We have faith, and we have pride. We are boldly serving on love's side. We are many, we are one, we are love. We are many, we are one, we are love. We are many, we are one, we are love.
Hello, I'm Reverend Suzelle Lynch from Unitarian Universalist Church West in Brookfield, Wisconsin. There at UU Church West, we had the delight of having Kimberlee as our intern minister. From the beginnings of our liberal religious tradition, our ministers, as you've heard, have been ordained and called by congregations and not church hierarchy. And thus, the part of the ordination ceremony we are about to enact is an important one. This element, the collegial welcome, is on its surface the simple act of having a senior colleague extend a hand of welcome to the newly ordained minister on behalf of all our colleagues. But as a ritual, this act of welcome actually dates back to the time of the Apostle Paul. It is a symbolic connection to our ministerial ancestors, as well as to our present and future colleagues. It is a reminder that we ministers are part of a vocation and a role that transcends time and is far bigger than we are as individuals. In our time, staying as safe as we can during the COVID-19 pandemic dictates that I should not reach out my hand and grasp Kimberlee's in the traditional act of welcome. But neither fate nor human walls can impose a barrier that will hold back love. And love, my friends, is what the collegial welcome is all about. Because to do the deeply powerful and challenging work of ministry, we need the love and support of colleagues. To do the work of deep and soulful exploration, the work of building a community of true equity, peace, justice, and freedom, we need the love and committed partnership of colleagues. To do the work of building faith and keeping hope alive in the most devastating circumstances, we need a radical, collegial love that will both lift us up and hold us accountable to the values and ethics we share and declare. Kimberlee, this supportive, committed, joyful, accountable, radical love is the love that I and our community of colleagues have for you. And so, with no further ado, I welcome you into the fellowship of ordained ministers who will journey side by side with you from this day forward through all the work and the blessings of ministry now and yet to come.
The act of ordination is the formal moment when the congregation confers its authority upon the newly ordained and names them as a minister. The practice of laying on of hands comes out of the Christian tradition in which generations of ministers would pass the power of ministry on to the newly ordained. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, we understand this practice as the embodiment of love and the power of the people. The concentric and intersecting circles of people who have shaped you and whom you have shaped over the many, many years that you have been doing this work and also throughout your life. We are also in this moment of embodiment, the embodiment of Unitarian Universalism, its history and its traditions, its people and its future. We incarnate the people who have come before, the people who have passed on, and the people who are coming after us. So, in this act of embodiment, as we represent all of the people you've affected and the people you will continue to affect in that invisible string that tugs on your hearts and everyone else in this room and everyone else in all of the rooms that is sitting here watching you, sending their love to you, I'm going to start calling up circles and interlocking and concentric circles of people who are connected to you and to one another so that we might send our blessing and our love to Kimberlee on this day. So first, I'd like to call up Eric and Miles, Kimberlee's husband and son, her daily life, her cocoon of love and challenge, the people who share and make her home. Next, I'd like to call up the circle of Kimberlee's parents, Mark and Judy Tomczak. These are your first shapers, the ones who shaped you in the womb. And then I'd like to call up Kimberlee's sister and brother-in-law, Chris and Katie Tomczak. Katie, who's been there since the beginning, shaping and affecting you as you shaped her. And now I want to call into the circle your family and your loved ones who would be here if circumstances allow, but especially naming Cassie and Jim Burcham, Jean and Larry Adams, Casey Carlson and David Carlson. Cassie and Jim, Jean and Larry, Casey and Dave, hold up your hands at home now and let the invisible string connecting you to Kimberlee and into this room reach out and tug on her heart. And now I'd like to call into this room your dear friends and colleagues all over the country and the world, religious education professionals and ministers, all of whom would be here with us today if they could. Religious education and professionals and ministers at home, hold up your hands now and send them to us. Embody with us is Reverend Suzelle and her partner Tom, who are going to represent you in that circle while the rest of us are sending our love in spirit. And now I'd like to call into the room all the children and youth and families whose lives you've touched over the years, Kimberlee, and there are so many in your years of service to this faith. Children or youth or families, if you are one of the people at home whose lives Kimberlee has touched in her work, hold up your hands now and send your love and your blessing into this room. And now I want to call into the room all the members and friends of the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, the people who are ordaining you here today. Congregation, hold up your hands now and send your blessing and your love to this new minister you have ordained on this sacred day, holding your part of Unitarian Universalism and embodying our faith. And finally, I want to invoke and call into the room the great beyond, the world and all of its people, as well as the ancestors, that cloud of witnesses who have gone before surrounding us now, and those who will be our descendants. Come in, world. Come in, Holy of Holies, great cloud of witnesses, and hold us here in this moment and time, us of one link in a long lineage of Unitarian Universalists and First Churchers, of ministers and workers of justice and religious educators and humans here on earth. Feel this blessing, this holy, holy moment. All the moments leading up to this one, all the people who have shaped you and who you have shaped, all the lives you have touched and who have touched yours, leading up to this eye in the needle of your ministry, Kimberlee, all those moments and people and love, they flow through you now. Kimberlee, you will carry this blessing forward with you. This blessing and love and connection, you carry it into your ministry, just as those of us who are shaped by this moment will carry it out with us and forward into our future. This transformative power of human connection and creation goes out and into many, many different worlds. Even though we let our hands down now, the invisible string between us and among us continues to connect us. Gather it all in, friends, colleagues, and family, and rise and greet this new day, renewed by the transformative power of love. Kimberlee, these people who love you have some gifts to share with you as well. I believe the gifts are being procured at this moment. Yes. First, a stole from your parents. Judy Tomczak, Kimberlee's mother, giving her the first stole of the day. She made it herself. Isn't it gorgeous? Second, Kimberlee, will be a stole from the people of UU Church West from your time serving there as a ministerial intern. Kimberlee, this stole is full of turtles, a remembrance of a wonderful worship you co-created during your internship. Each of these turtles was created by a church member to give you a message of love and support. And Reverend Suzelle, who just gifted you the stole, and her young adult son, Adlai Kim, designed and sewed the stole together with their loving energy as a symbol of the multi-generational ministry that is your passion. And third, you have a couple of gifts from the First Unitarian Society of Milwaukee, which will be presented by Eric. So first, Kimberlee, in honor of your ordination, the children and youth and families of First Church are creating a quilt for you with messages of love, symbols, and quotes and thoughts and blessings that they made especially for you. And Kimberlee, just as your ministry to us and shared with us is in progress, so too is this gift in progress. And the gifted quilting framed circle represents the stole that will eventually be finished, even as your journey with us continues. And finally, Kimberlee, on behalf of the entire First Church congregation and especially our children, youth, and families, we present you this stole as an outward symbol of the milestone we mark today. We offer this gift with our deep wish that through all the years of your ministry and each time you rest it on your shoulders, you will once again remember the joy and the gratitude of this moment and the joy and gratitude that we feel with the honor of being able to ordain you and to be the first to say, congratulations, Reverend Kimberlee.
Thank you. They are beautiful. I am so deeply humbled and honored and loved into this moment by so many wonderful people. Thank you to those who contributed their gifts to this ceremony today, making it happen, and the many, many who have contributed to my faith journey. I am grateful for your steadfast support, and your love means the world to me. I will do my best to serve our faith, the common good, and our world to the best of my abilities. Today, our collective power made me a reverend. Let us now all go out, bring our divinity out into the world, and let us become the change we want to see happen. Thank you. I love you. Blessed be.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Whoa, yeah, yeah. 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 Oh, yeah,